This evening, we were talking about what it looks like to be a husband and a wife, to be the head and the body. And the assignment that I kind of put out for the week was let's each kind of take a look at these different roles and what it means for us to submit within our relationships and what it looks like for each one of us to be considered in the bride or the wife of Christ and in that body, and how do we submit to him. And someone had asked a question in a different context with regard to when I'm maybe confronting situations or doing certain things that are not comfortable that God has me doing. How do I know that I've done it correctly? Like, how do I know that I haven't gone on my own sort of authority to do that? And I kind of answered the question, like in the moment, the best way that I knew how, which is, well, I mean, as you're going through the healing process as an individual, God's going to teach you certain things about disciplining the flesh and circumcising from the sinful flesh and staying in step with him and all of that. And then as he has you walking in the authority in the house, over the house he's given you, you're going to start to learn how to have conversations with people, but it's going to be sort of in a contained environment in this situation and that. And then he's going to give you a trust in his house. And so everything that he's been teaching you, you're going to have a trust, and he will have already built you to that point to stay in step with him. And when I got off the call, I immediately, the worries and concerns and like, okay, now I'm regrouping, I'm getting ready for bed, another day, the building hasn't sold, I'm back to the reality of my life, right? And all day long, and it really made me realize, like, this is the reason God's servants need to be so low and so reliant on him, is because every second of the day, that's what I'm doing. Every second of the day, I feel those feelings, and then I go back to him, and I know he's not going to give me the answer. He's not going to give me the itinerary of what he's doing, but I do know that he will let me know if I'm in his favor. So all day long, I have those checks and balances all day long. Every time I have a feeling, I'm going back and checking myself. Am I in his favor? And I'm asking him, am I in your favor? Am I good? Are we good? Are we good? All day long, I have those checks and balances. So that by the time I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm doing what he has told me to do, whether it's reproval or correction or whatever, I've already spent that time with him. I already know. And then I'm sorting through my own things of my own worries. And I'm always in this checks and balances of, am I in your favor? Are we good? So there's no point where he even allows me to step away. I don't have the opportunity to step away. And it's just gotten to this point. You know, there was a time when he called me to himself and he was proving himself, and then he had me let go of like one thing and then another thing and then another thing. And there comes a point where you've like been stripped so low that he says, all right, is it going to be this? Like, are you going to let go of this? And once you let go of that thing that's right before you, there's no turning back. From that point on, you know, there's no turning back after this. And it just continues on from there. Like, he just keeps consecrating you to him, and he keeps bringing you into him deeper and deeper until you no longer have anything to go back to. There's no world, and you're just fully submitted, fully reliant, fully obedient, totally low. And anytime that you feel any kind of concern, you're like, the only thing that you go back to, you don't go back to like the control of your hands, because there's nothing to control. You don't have any of the things that you once had in the world. He's stripped you of all of that. All you have is him, and all you need is him. And so when you get to that point, all you're asking yourself is, am I in your favor? Are we good? That's the only thing that matters. That's the best way that I can explain the process of being a servant for God. What do I have to go back to? I have nothing to go back to. And it just so happens that that's his pattern. I mean, he said, sell everything you have, so that there's nothing to go back to, guys. There's nothing that you can control. There's nothing you can trust in but him. Sell everything you have and come follow me. Okay, so as I'm sitting here this evening and I'm considering, like, what does it look like to be a submitted wife? What does it look like to be in his favor? A wife that he can be proud of. I'm remembering Proverbs 31, the wife of noble character. It's in there for good reason, right? The wife of noble character. This is what God wants. This is what he prefers in a wife. Verse 10, a wife of noble character who can find? She's worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it's still night and provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. She's a busy woman, huh? But this is what is beautiful to God, is this wise woman who fears the Lord, who has honor, who's busy in noble cause, feeding others at the proper time. It's almost like this woman doesn't rest necessarily, right? Like she's always busy taking care of others and taking care of this household and bringing honor to the reputation of her husband, to the name of her husband, submitted to what is good, submitted to what is right and honorable and noble. And you can hear that her husband takes pride in her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. It's not because of anything that she's wearing necessarily, like she's not adorned in anything of the world. It's all because of her character. Her children are adoring and respecting her, knowing that she's blessed. And there's a certain air of confidence in her. She's clothed with strength and dignity. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. There's a boldness and a confidence to her. When it snows, she has no fear for her household. She has authority. She has confidence. She makes wise and prudent decisions. And I want to tell you that this is what results from doing this work in the Lord, from submission, obedience, and reliance on God, from having a correct relationship with Him, from doing the work in personal accountability. This is what results. This is a wife that Christ has built. You know, human wives and husbands become attracted to each other because of something that they already possess. But Christ becomes attracted to us because of who we're allowing him to build us to be, because of who he's set us apart to be. And this is something that I'm telling you right now, I know that this is what he builds in us, because I didn't have any of this before him. He's even the one who's given me the boldness and the courage to even become what he's made me into. So I just wanted to share this with you, because as we are proceeding through the week and we're considering what does it look like to be this wife to Christ? What does it look like to be this wife to our earthly husbands? Husbands, earthly husbands, you're also a wife to Christ. I know that might sound weird, but get over it, because it is what it is. There's neither male nor female in the kingdom of heaven. But this is a posture. It's a posture that we need to come to understand. It is an identity that we need to grow into, that we need to be molded into. And so as you're doing your journaling this week, consider, is this what I'm living into? Is this what I'm living up to? And where have I made mistakes in the past that I need to learn from now? Why did I make those mistakes? Because there was a reason why. If you were in relationships previously where you dominated, where you wanted to be the head, you were trying to covet that role. What was going on inside of you? Because that hasn't suddenly left you if you haven't examined it. You need to examine it. It might look different now in this new relationship, but you need to examine it so that you can change, and then your partner can change, your spouse can change. You can grow into the role you're supposed to have, and they can grow into the role they're supposed to have, and you can be brought together in unity correctly. The world has all kinds of ideas about different gender roles and stuff like that, but God has made our gender roles very clear, and for good reason. So spend a little time with this week as you're leaning into what it means to be a wife, to be the wife of Christ, and you're learning how to posture yourself correctly with your spouse. And then we'll talk about it in workshop. Please discern with God.